crafty friends, Kim from Stamping Imperfection. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm creating a couple of cards I plan to use for graduation, and I'm using a fun fold card design that I found somewhere online, and I believe I found this on Pinterest. And I like this fun fold card. I think that so far I've created 3 different cards, which I'll share with you after I show you how to make the card, so you can get some ideas. This is my prototype. I used a bunch of scrap paper, scrap cardstock, and old retired designer series paper to create this. I write my measurements on the inside or on the back usually, and then I have a file box that I keep these in. So I really like this one. So I've got this. You can adjust the size of this. You can adjust where this this fold goes here on your card. You can adjust the size of this flap. You can do all kinds of things with this layout. So you can actually really, adjust the size to make it your own. The end result here that I have is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch A2 size card. So I really like that. So let me show you what I'm going to use today. I'm going to play with this Scenic Adventure stamp set. I actually really like this. Technically, I believe Stampinup had created this for a scrapbook workshop kit. They have a Scenic Adventure scrapbook workshop kit and designer series paper set. You can get dies, and I'm not going to play with the dies today because I want to do a little ink blending. I want to create a little scene with just ink, but you can create all kinds of little scenes with these dies. So I couldn't resist getting the dies because of course I want to play with some of these. I just love them. If you do a lot of camping or someone you love does a lot of camping, this would be a great one. I like the Let the Journey Begin. I thought that would be perfect for a grad, and this seems kind of gender neutral, so I thought, I could make something out of this and show you what I mean. Now there's a lot of different things you can do here. I will show you a couple different ways that I created the card. So let's just talk about our cardstock pieces first. So you need a couple of white pieces. I'm going to use a piece of designer series paper here, but you could actually use, you could emboss a piece of colored coordinating cardstock if you wanted to. Like, there's all kinds of things you can do here, so that's pretty fun. And I've already got ink on my hands because I've been creating already today. So I decided that I would use this pretty peacock. I love this color. I always forget about it. I don't know why, but let me give you the measurements here and show you the scoring. This is a pretty simple card. So this is cut at 5 1/2 by 7 1/4, and then you just need to score it at 3 inches. And it does not matter at all which side you score it from. It makes no difference whatsoever. So just give that a score, and then you've got your fold here, and I want the fold on the left, so I'm just going to flip this around and I give it a good press with my bone folder, just like that. So that's going to make the base. Then I have a piece of pretty peacock that is a 4 1/4 inches square. Is it 4 1/4? Let me make sure that's correct. That's correct. It's 4 1/4 inches square. So 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and this one I'm going to score at 1 inch from any side. It doesn't matter which one. And again, I want the fold on the left side for this. Then I've also got a piece of white that I've cut down to 3 by 4, a piece that I've cut down to 4 by 5 1/4, and a piece of designer series paper that I've cut down to 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. And this designer series paper is from this 6 by 6 designer series paper pack called Thoughtful Journey. And I really love this. I feel like I've used so much of this paper and I still have so much left. You get 48 sheets of this, and I believe there are you get 4 each of 12 different designs, and the backs are beautiful. They almost look like watercolor or even alcohol ink backgrounds. So they're really pretty. So this is the paper that I'm playing with today. I have a lot of it left, so I am trying to take advantage of that and use some of that. So now I've got all my pieces. I also have a piece of scrap white. This is probably about a ½ inch wide, and in case I want to use it for my sentiments. So I can start putting this together. So I'm going to take these 2 pieces, and on the outside of this smaller flap, I'm just going to add a little glue here. You can use whatever adhesive you like. The glue works well for me. I do make a little bit of a mess sometimes. Now I like to put this as much in the middle as I can. I'm lining up this fold with the edge of my card, the outside edge of my card there. So it's going to go like this. So this part gets glued down. So that flap is on the inside, but no worries. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to take this 4 by 5¼ inch piece, and I want to do a little stamping on top of this. And I'm going to take one of the trees from the set here, and I'm just going to grab a clear block. That one was a little small, but that'll work. And I'm going to pull out, let's see, this is Mossy Meadow. I think I'm going to pull out that Pretty Peacock color. And I just need to put a couple trees on the front. And I'm going to pull out my little silicone mat here. And I'm just going to stamp this guy on the inside a couple of times, just like that. You could do it more if you want to, but that is going to be that for me. So I'll get that all set to go, and then I can add this with a little bit of that glue. And you'll notice that I just have this little jar from the dollar store that I use it to keep my glue upright in. That works great. I mean, this little thing costs $1.25, and actually it costs $1. I believe it came from Dollar General. And it's got little waves on the outside. I have another one that's got bees on it. I quite like that one too. So pick whichever side of the paper you like. I'm going to use this side. I thought the little scene would be fun, but this is actually also really pretty. Like that would be really pretty underneath. And experiment with opening and closing it and see what you like there. Once again, I'm adding a little bit of glue, and I'm going to put this on the outside of that flap on the card base, just like that. And that's going to complete my card except for my focal image. So I wanted to stamp something here. And again, I actually really like these little trees, and I thought I would create something with the trees. Just a little background. And before I do that, though, I do want to do a little bit of ink blending, and then I'll do my stamping over the top of the trees. And I'm going to clean this guy off. Now there is a cloud. I could stamp that also, but I kind of want to just do a little ink blending. I was really inspired today by the card that they have on Stampinup's website on the shop blog. So if you go to shopwithkim.net and put in Scenic Adventure in the search bar when you get to the site, that's my Stampin' Up! Store. And you can actually see the card I'm talking about there. I actually really liked it. And it looked like it used the new in colors. So that's what I'm going to work with here. I've got yellow and I've got my yellow and my, oh, I want to pull out my blue one also. There we go. So I'm going to pull out Timid Tiger. I'm going to pull out the Darling Duckling, and I'm going to pull out the Secret Sea and the Cloud. Well, I have the cloud cover. This was available while supplies last, and I don't know that they actually sold it to customers. I think they only sold it to demonstrators. I'm not sure if that's available to everybody or not. But I actually really like this. So I thought I like the combination that they use. So I'm going to start with a little bit of this yellow. And I'm going to grab a piece of scrap paper here. This is just scrap junk mail or something. And I'm going to ink up my Darling Duckling and rub a little bit off. And then I'm just going to go over a little corner of this, just like that. And any yellow will do. I don't want it to be perfect. Then I've got the Timid Tiger, so I thought I'd pull that out. I'll ink this up, oops, and take a lot of that off. And then I'm just going to ink blend these two together. Okay, and I'm going to pull out that yellow and ink blend right over the top of this, just to really get those two colors blended together. And then I want to try the cloud cover color, because I want it to be lighter. I think I'm going to stamp my trees in this Secret Sea color. I quite like this Secret Sea color, and I'm just going to add this cloud cover. Now you can get this cloud cover in an ink cube. Stampin' Up! Has some ink cubes that they're selling, and one of them, I think it's 5 sets of, or 5 little ink cubes like this, Stampin' Spots, the little ink spot inkers there, ink pads, and you can get the Secret Sea color in that for sure. I know that's still available, or it was the last time I checked. Okay, so I'm going to mix these together, and then I'm going to take that yellow out and go over the top of that. Not the yellow, the orange. I'm taking the orange and I'm going over the top of the line between those two colors. I'm going to blend it over the top of the yellow. It's a little bit darker than I had wanted, but that's okay. And one other thing that I would like to do is to add a little bit of splatter to this. So I'm going to put this here, and I definitely want to do some white splatter. So I'm going to pull out my re-inker. So this is my Craft White re-inker that Stampin' Up! Has, and I'm just going to put a little dab. It's very thick and hard to get out. Now you can put this on a clear block. That's another great way to do it. This is how I usually do it. You see, I don't have water in any of these brushes, so I'm just going to take a little bit of water and spritz it on there. Now I have other ink colors on this mat, so I do want to be careful to keep them out of my white, and I'm just picking up this white and mixing it in with the water, and then I'm just going to tap, 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 tap. Just like that. Hopefully they won't dry into the paper. All right, now I can just do my stamping. And I'm going to pull out this Secret C. I'm going to stamp each of these once or twice. And I'm going to take the tall one and stamp this once on top of that. And then I'll take this medium size one and stamp this a couple times. And it's okay if I overlap them. I'm going to just pull this down to make it just a slightly different height than that one. And then I'm going to take this little one and I can add a couple of these in. And you can stamp off a couple times if you want to. In fact, I will do that here and add maybe one that looks like it's in the back there. All right, there we go. So I usually, when I'm done crafting, just take my silicone mat and run it under water and just clean it off that way. I'm going to add this to my card base. This has a little bit of wild wheat in it, so I felt like I could get away with using the new in colors on here. I've just really enjoyed playing with those, so I've got that as my card now. I can go ahead and do my sentiments. So I like the Let the Journey Begin on this one, but Journey is pretty big. So I'll need a larger sheet of paper, but I could stamp the journey on directly and just do, let's see, Let the Begin. I'll do the Let the and the Begin in two separate pieces. And then I think I'm going to type that journey directly on. And I think my D block will be perfect for this. And if I hate where I stamped it, I can actually, if it doesn't come out the way I'm hoping, I can just put a sentiment over the top of this, like this. And then, let me see how I like this. I'm going to trim these guys down so I can do it like this, and I think I kind of like this. I could pop those up, but I kind of think I like them laying flat. And looking for my tweezers. I love these little reverse tweezers. I have a couple pairs of them and they work great. I think this will be kind of a perfect graduation card. So I'm just scraping off some of the excess glue with the leftover scrap paper there. And these were not meant to be trimmed perfectly. It's kind of perfect for the look I'm hoping to achieve there. And I'll clean all of those off. I pulled out some iridescent basic pearls. Now I could color these, but I do really like the white dots in the sky. So I thought I would add a couple. So I'm going to pull one of, there's two sizes, really small and small. So I'm going to pull these out here and just use two of the small ones and one of the larger, two of the really small and one of the slightly larger. And I like to use odd numbers. That's what I was taught to do. And I tend to use, sorry about that, my camera shut down, but I did put a third little pearl on there. So I've got a little visual triangle. I do tend to use 3 or 5 embellishments when I use them. I tend to stick to 3. It's just more cost effective, and I don't want to overdo it. There is a fine line there between embellishments adding to the card and taking away, so I try to be careful. But there it is. There's the card, the fun fold card that I made using the Scenic Adventure set and the Thoughtful Journey paper. I always forget the name of this paper. Thoughtful Journey paper. So I'm using this paper for several of the cards I made today. I tend to pull out a paper pack and a bunch of stamp sets and just create. And I did want to use some of my new in colors just to see how they looked. And I actually really like that. I think this will be a great graduation card. Especially, this would be great for somebody who's not going on to college or somebody who's graduating from college. Now the second card that I have to share is using the Sunrise Sailing set. Here's this one, and I used the stamp set here with the Timid Tiger. I believe this is Balmy Blue, and then I used some Smoky Slate or Gray Granite. Could be either there for the birds. And I did stamp the sailboat and the sentiment in that Secret Sea. I really like that Secret Sea color. And here I used the, I don't know how well you can see that. You see that embossing folder? That's the embossing folder that you can purchase. You can see I stamped some of the seagulls on the inside. I really like the way this came out. And I stamped the congratulations from, I think this came from the Simply Said set, but I can't remember. And I used my Happy Labels die to actually give some decorative edge to that sentiment. I actually really like that touch. And then I used the new in color embellishments here and some of the thread from the Baker's Twine Essentials pack. So this is the Sunrise Sailing, and it does have, I also, by the way, used the Wave one to make one, and that looks nice too if you don't want to purchase the stamp and die set. This is a cut and emboss set, so you can put this large sailboat in here over the top of this and cut and emboss that with lots of dimension, but it's got the embossing folder and the die set that you can purchase all of this as a bundle, which is nice. And lots of possibilities here. I think actually there's a lot, like Happy Retirement, Best Wishes. Oh, the congratulations came from this set actually. You deserve the best, you're destined for great things, ahoy, love it. Love, love, love it. So that was my second one, and I did pull out the Soft Waves 3D embossing folder just to show you that you could use that instead. Then another one I made uses the Wooded Acres stamp set. It's just got 2 stamps in it, and you can create little scenes, which is exactly what I did. So I stamped it in Mossy Meadow, and then I used a bunch of my Stampin' Blends to color in the scene, and I used a little soft seafoam to finish off underneath the sentiment, just so it wouldn't look like super stark white. It's very subtle. I just, slashed some lines across the paper. I stamped my sentiment in Shaded Spruce, and I used Shaded Spruce cardstock for the base. I actually really like this. Just Breathe and Take It Slow is a sentiment from the Scenic Adventure, I believe. Yes, it's from the Scenic Adventure set. I really like this. I could use this for several occasions. I didn't decorate the inside, but I do love a fun fold card that allows me a lot of space to write my message on the inside. I like to include handwritten messages with my cards when I send them. Then the last one I made, I used the Simply Said stamp set, still in this year's annual catalog. I love this set. I pull this out all the time to use. I love that hello and just a note. And I used the front of the paper for this part of it, and the back of the paper for, oh nope, I used both fronts on this one. So I used fronts for both of these, and then I used Petunia Pop, one of the coordinating colors in the Thoughtful Journey, and I really like the way this came out. I stamped my sentiment in Blackberry Bliss, and again used that Happy Labels punch to give it a decorative edge. So those are the cards that I made today. So you can get lots of ideas of how you could put these together. You don't have to use designer series paper at all if you don't want to, but I did some ink blending on this one. I did some embossing on this one. Some two-step stamping here. I used my Stampin' Blends on this one to create a little scene. I love creating scene cards, but if you hate creating scenes with your stamp sets and your ink blending and your coloring, you can create scenes with some of the beautiful papers that Stampin' Up! Has. So there you go. 4 different ideas for cards you can use. I'm going to use these 2 for graduation. And this one could be used for anything you wanted it to. And of course, 1 birthday card added to the stash. So I got 4 very different cards with this one fun fold as well. Thanks for watching, friends. I hope you have a wonderful day. You can find all the measurements on my blog at stampingimperfection.com, and you can purchase all the supplies for these at shopwithkim.net, which is my Stampin' Up! Store. So please give this video a thumbs up, and if you're new, make sure you subscribe and click the bell to get notifications every time I upload a new video. And friends, I hope you find time to be creative today. Have a wonderful day.